As a young boy getting into this sport, I mean, there's a lot of travel involved. You're not in school. How did that affect you, as a young teenager, all that with your social life?
Well, I mean, it's hard. I pretty much had no social life for forever. It was something that I knew pretty early on. To do go-kart racing, like it actually is way more serious than it sounds. Like a lot of us think, oh, hey, we're going to K1 speed on the north side or whatever it is, and going to indoor go-karting. Like there's that, but then there's also like a professional level of it, where like that's how any professional racing driver gets to that next level. So. We started, traveling a little bit. My dad and I had a trailer. We had a barn that we worked on the go-karts in. But like also at age like 13, like my dad made me read like mechanical engineering books, you know what I mean? To try to figure out how to, better develop the setups of the go-karts. So there was a lot of work there. We were gone on the weekends. I tried to play other school sports too, because obviously as a kid, you want to do that stuff and like be a part of your friends or whatever it is. But it was never really anything that was like, I think I just did it to do it. Whereas like racing was something that like, this is what I wanted to do all the time. And it was really hard. Like it's very hard to try to be a professional, no matter what sport you do, no matter what arena that you're in life. Very, very hard. Yeah. And my dad like really was hard on me, like extremely hard, because he knew what it took to make it as a professional race car driver. And you have to sacrifice everything. You have to be willing to give up all of your time, every bit of your childhood, everything, because there's 8 billion people on the planet, and there's only 33 of us that get to suit up for the 500 every year. So like you have to be a very, very, very minute
top of the top,
percentage of human beings that get to do that. So at the time I hated it, because I was like, man, I think the racing's fun, but everything else sucks. But realistically, he was right. Like it for sure took all that, and it still takes all that to be the best athlete that you can be in this sport, for sure.
Yeah. So has it always been your dream to be a race car driver, or did it kind of start as your dad's dream and then over time become your dream?
No, I mean, honestly, it was mine. He never pushed me into it. Like we happened to trip into a go-kart track, and he made one of the biggest things that he made me do, and not made me, it sounds like he forced it on me, but like he wanted me to make sure that I wanted to do it. Right. Like if I didn't suggest, hey, we need to go to this track to do this, or like I would like to go practice more, or like I would like to do this, like he made me aware that like I had to be driving the ship here, which I respect, because it's like at the time I'm like, well, I thought we were just doing this, like I want to do this, of course, but he's like, no, you have to really want to do it, like it can't be me, it has to be you. And then he was right.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm sure that did that ever put strain on your guys' relationship?
Oh, for sure. It's completely, 1,000%. But I mean, he is, my dad, right? So, which is great. And he was my manager for until I was 21 years old, or 22 years old, maybe, I think 2014. And so like he controlled most of everything that was going on, a lot of the business deals, and then kind of in 2014, basically I was then my own manager. He was just like, all right, I'm done. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm like, all right, well, boom, here's everything. So it for sure changed the way that I interact with my dad, but like it's, I appreciate him for what was done, because I am very lucky to be doing what I do now, for sure.
Yeah. When did it kind of go from racing out of a barn and just kind of the track out? Oh gosh, what town is that?
Newcastle
right.
And Whiteland, Indiana were the two tracks where we started.
Okay, so when did it go from that to like, now I'm a glamorous race car driver, so to speak,
I mean, it takes a long time. It's not glamorous at all until you like actually make it to a professional level. So it's hard. It's, you're the support series, because like motor racing, IndyCar racing has a ladder system. Like if you want to play basketball or football, you're probably going to play in middle school. You're probably going to play in high school and college, and that's like a lot of years. Yeah. It's the same thing in racing. They're just slightly smaller cars, a little bit slower, and that's kind of how you learn and develop. But like those races, sometimes they were on the same weekends as IndyCar races, and so we'd look up to those guys as heroes. But like you'd be racing at 7 a.m. You know what I mean? You'd be racing. You're the way pregame show. You know what I mean? And a lot of the stuff, we weren't making money. Like we were doing everything we could to to sell sponsorship for these things, to like get people to help us to do it. I slept in trailers and drove to many things. I mean, I've slept on more couches and people's trailers just to be at the racetrack and just to do those things than ever. But there's kind of a scholarship system in racing that, like, if you won the championship that you were competing in, well, you got the next year funded through like the system that we were racing in. So it's like,
cool.
Well, you can kind of help yourself. Like you self-fund. Like I self-funded myself just by winning all those things. So like that was like that made it easier, slightly easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes a long time, and it wasn't until like probably my first Indy 500 when I was 21. 2013, because I was still racing in Europe at the time and living over there full time, but I got an opportunity to race at the Indy 500.
Yeah.
And like that was the first time I was like paid to be a racing driver and like show up and be at the greatest race in the world. And it was really cool. And I was like, you know what? This is exactly what I thought it would be. It's and even better. Yeah. So that was kind of a cool moment.
What ages did you? Because I completely forgot about the fact that you lived in Europe for a while.
Yeah,
and you lived over there on your own, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
How old were you when you went over there?
It was my college year, so I graduated high school, Heritage Christian, and then I won the championship that I was in at the end of that year, 2010, and then moved over to England like in the winter of 2011. And so I was over there for 4 years. I lived with a family friend of ours. But he was not there all the time, so it was me kind of basically on my own, which is, you're kind of forced into a whole new environment in a different country, different world.
Yeah, grow up fast, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, motorsport in general makes you grow up fast. I mean, I was doing things that when I was 15, 16 and in business meetings and doing things, and I'd go back to school and you'd be like, what are these clowns doing? You know what I mean? But like that was just that you're forced to mature.
Yeah.
Like I wish I could have done a lot of the things that like it seemed like was fun in high school too, but like I just didn't get to. But it's fine. It's all worth it in the end.
Oh yeah.
But 4 years in Europe was definitely a different experience. That was my college years.
Yeah. Well, so that was basically college for you.
That was it.
Yeah. So then you got the offer to race in the IndyCar series. Was it Indy Lights first and then IndyCar? Or how does that work?
Yeah, I dabbled in Indy Lights. I did a few races in 2011 when I first went to Europe.
Okay.
But what I was racing in Europe was very similar to what would have been the Indy Lights series here, the Formula One feeder series. So I was over there, and I was a Formula One test driver for 2 years as well. So like kind of doing awesome. F3 and F2, which is like below Formula One. But we had kind of always kept our feet in the door here in America to, because I loved IndyCar racing, and I think we had obviously established ourselves in the Road to Indy system, those feeder series. We kind of tried to play both fields a little bit.
Yeah. So IndyCar has ultimately been kind of your overall goal, right? As a child or
well, I mean, Formula One was, but it's also you only get one opportunity to make it, and we got very, very close. I was probably one race from really getting to that next level. And I got wrecked in that race that I needed to win. So it was
that was the IndyCar race, right?
No. This is a race in Italy that I should have won the F3 championship. I could have won the F3 championship that year, and then that would extend my Formula One contract to then kind of go to a higher level. So it was actually the same year as my first Indy 500. But yeah, that was kind of a big life altering moment. Then from then on, it was like, all right, now IndyCar is the main focus, which was fine, honestly. I mean, it's still the highest level of motorsport. It's still high level competing, and that's where you want to be, making a living.